10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. So rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go!
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
Hola, ¿cómo les va? Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos a Ecos de un Mundo Estrellado. Bueno, por hoy tenemos una nota realmente especial. Digo especial porque me costó mucho conseguirla. Se trata de un hombre muy conocido en la NASA y en la comunidad de entusiastas por la exploración espacial. Me refiero al doctor Alan Stern, que es el investigador principal de la misión Nuevos Horizontes. La misión Nuevos Horizontes marcó realmente un récord, yo diría un hito dentro de la historia de la exploración espacial porque llegó al mundo más lejano de nuestro sistema, Plutón. Viajó durante 9 años, salió allá por enero del 2006, llegó el 14 de julio de 2015, pocos días antes se interrumpió la transmisión, la nave quedó apagada prácticamente y todo eso lo cuenta Stern. Y luego la sorpresa cuando empezaron a llegar las primeras imágenes de un mundo, bueno, mucho más complejo, mucho más dinámico de lo que se pensaba. Tanto Plutón como Caronte, fotografiados realmente a altísima resolución en una nave que pasó de largo, se llama Flyby, eso hizo un sobrevuelo, no se quedó a orbitar Plutón. ¿Por qué? También se lo consultamos a Stern. Y siguió camino y encontró otro objetivo, que es un asteroide del cinturón de Kuiper, que se llama Arrowhead, que es una cosa muy extraña, son como dos rocas que han quedado soldadas evidentemente de cuando se formó el sistema solar. Parece un muñeco de nieve, rojizo porque tiene materia orgánica. Y se dirige ahora a un nuevo objetivo que ellos ya están comenzando a buscar con su red de telescopios. Y luego se irá alejando como lo hicieron las naves Voyager, ¿no? Así que realmente, bueno, la nave Nuevos Horizontes ha sido histórica porque nos mostró que los seres humanos realmente estuvimos en condiciones de explorar mundos que antes eran pequeños puntitos de luz, algunos de ellos que ni se veían aún con los telescopios más potentes del mundo. Plutón, prácticamente no se sabía nada de Plutón antes de que la nave Nuevos Horizontes pasara por él. Se descubrió atmósfera y se descubrió que aparentemente tiene agua y hasta incluso podría haber alguna chance, y también se lo preguntamos a Stern, de que haya vida en este océano subterráneo, como realmente hemos podido verlo en muchos mundos, sobre todo lunas en los gigantes gaseosos que parecen tener estos océanos, estos mares en las profundidades, ¿no? Debajo de sus cortezas de hielo. Así que bueno, no me demoro más, voy a compartir con ustedes la nota, antes nuestros auspiciantes, y luego antes de la nota les voy a mostrar como una especie de tráiler, como una especie de avance que se hizo antes de que la nave comenzara su camino. Luego de ese tráiler, que es bastante épico, bastante lindo, por eso lo quiero compartir con ustedes, vamos a la nota con Alan Stern. Es una nota que, ojo, comienza cuando él nos habla, porque la nota la hice un día antes del lanzamiento de la nave Mars 2020, que ocurrió más o menos hace un par de semanas. Me demoré un poquito en emitirla porque imagínense, la nota es en inglés, así que hay que doblarla en español, hay que hacer los subtítulos y todo eso lleva tiempo. Así que bueno, los auspiciantes, el tráiler y luego la nota con Alan Stern.
En el marco de su plan energético a 10 años, ENERSA desarrolla obras de infraestructura en toda la provincia para acompañar el desarrollo productivo, permitir la radicación de nuevas inversiones y garantizar el bienestar de las familias en sus hogares. Más de 1.100 millones de pesos destinados a obras eléctricas para beneficio de todos los entrerrianos. Plan energético a 10 años. ENERSA, Gobierno de Entre Ríos.
Honorable Consejo Deliberante de Paraná, un espacio de pluralidad y voz ciudadana. Entérate de lo que pasa en tu ciudad ingresando a www.hcdparaná.gov.ar y seguinos por las redes sociales, Facebook y Twitter.
It has been over 3,000 days since we left Earth. We're now almost 3 billion miles away from home. Out here, where the sun is distant and faint, is a place no one has ever seen before. Pluto and its system of moons, the farthest worlds ever to be explored by humankind. Half a century ago, we began the exploration of all the planets, making ever more distant journeys. Each new world, from Mercury to Neptune, revealed its own startling complexity, character, and unimagined beauty. As we now approach the Pluto system, reaching farther again, this year we are about to complete the historic first era of planetary exploration. Who knows what wonders await us at these new horizons.
Okay, we are with Alan Stern. He's the principal investigator of New Horizons mission, associate administrator in charge of science from NASA. Well, you have a lot of credits and titles. And now you are a planetary scientist at the Southwest Research Institute. Thank you really for joining us. It's an honor to have you in the program. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Okay. So, before anything, tomorrow we have a really important mission to Mars. Before we talk about New Horizons, I would like your thought or reflection about this.
Well, tomorrow, as you know, is the launch of the next Mars rover called Mars 2020 or Perseverance. But it's not just any Mars rover. It's the most advanced and sophisticated Mars rover ever sent to the planet. And it is the start of a several mission sequence to return samples from Mars back to the Earth later in this decade. So it's very important, and it's really turning the page to a new era of Mars exploration.
Oh, yes, I agree. So, Alan, a few days ago, you celebrated an anniversary. 5 years ago, New Horizons flew by Pluto. What feelings, what memories came to you from this day?
Well, that was on the 14th of July, our 5th anniversary of the Pluto flyby. And many feelings and emotions on that day. First, for how proud I am of our team for working for so many years and getting it exactly right. And secondly, for how proud we made people all around the world feel for accomplishments of science and technology in our time, and how we inspired younger people to go into science and math and engineering careers. And those are pretty powerful emotions for me.
So, okay, so tell me about this mission. I remember few days before you reached your destiny, the spaceship had a glitch. It's okay. It went dark almost 90 minutes. I imagine you were on the verge of a heart attack.
It was a very scary time, 10 days before arriving at
10
our
days.
target. 10 days before, on the 4th of July, 2015, after traveling over 3,000 days without any serious problems. As you say, the spacecraft went dark. It stopped communicating with the Earth, which should never happen. And we regained that communication within, as you say, an hour and a half. But when we could look at the spacecraft's health through the data it was sending back, we found that all of the flyby plans, dozens of instruction files and other types of data to fly past Pluto and make all those images and collect all that data, had been erased. And all of those files had been carefully put on the spacecraft over a period of many months. And now we had literally 4 days until the flyby was to begin. And so it really was a very trying time for our team, but they did it perfectly. And they managed to put all that back together without making any mistake. And then we had a flawless flyby. So it really worked out.
Yeah, I imagine after 9 years of a long trip, only a few days before you reach Pluto, it's incredible.
How can this happen, right?
Well, and if I am not wrong, you had only 4 years to complete New Horizons. I mean, it's not much time for a mission so ambitious.
Right. When we got the go-ahead to launch, we only had a period of 4 years and 2 months to make it to the launch pad, or we would miss the launch window for Pluto. And to put that in perspective, we had to design the spacecraft. We had to build it and test it and get it to the launch site. This is normally an 8 to 10 year process.
Yes.
4 years. And
4
so
years.
For that team, for my team, it was amazing. We worked every week of every month for 4 years straight with no breaks. And it was really a labor of love and passion among the 2,500 men and women who worked to build and design and test New Horizons. And we made it.
Why the decision was only to fly by Pluto and not to orbit the planet?
Well, doing an orbiter is normally the second stage of exploration. First, we fly by, and because orbiters are more expensive than the flybys, we do the flyby first to see if it's valuable enough to send an orbiter. Also, the orbiter is a much longer mission, and so the flyby was the best way to get the basic reconnaissance, and it worked out perfectly.
Maybe is the next project to orbit Pluto, to send the spaceship to orbit Pluto?
Well, that's actually being studied with NASA funding right now. So we'll see if that mission gets off the drawing board. It would be spectacular.
NASA is interested? Is involved?
Well, NASA is studying now about a dozen different possible next space missions. And this is one of the finalists.
Which was the thing or the feature that most surprising about Pluto for you?
You know,
all was unexpected.
Yeah, you know, we knew Pluto was going to be fascinating, but the degree of diversity of landforms and atmospheric phenomena and the degree of complexity and the fact that the planet is so alive 4 billion years after its formation, all the way out there in the coldest outer reaches of the solar system, was very surprising. And it really caused us to rewrite the textbooks on how small planets work. Now, we have a much greater appreciation that they can be as complex as planets like the Earth and Mars, and just as alive as planets like the Earth and Mars. In fact, Pluto is both.
The team is still processing information from Pluto. How long did it take until all the data transmission arrived?
It took 16 months to get all the data back, from July of 2015
16 months. Okay.
until very late in 2016. And although we've looked at all the data now, there's a tremendous amount of computer modeling of the different kinds of geology and geophysics, the surface composition, and not just Pluto, but Pluto and its 5 satellites. So really 6 different objects in the system, several hundred different data sets. And so we are now in that not initial phase of just seeing what's in the data, but trying to understand it. And at the same time, we had another flyby in 2019, not of Pluto, but an object much farther out. And we're analyzing those data, as well as data that we collect as we fly between targets. And on top of all of that, we are looking for our next flyby target now.
Oh, yes. Okay. And you're using telescopes from...
Right. We're using the largest telescopes on the Earth. We've been granted time on the Subaru telescope in Hawaii and on the Gemini telescopes in Hawaii and South America, and a few other very large telescopes to search even farther out for a possible flyby target.
You need telescope with a big aperture.
The very largest. This is really at the edge of what can be done. It's at the edge of our technological capability.
And you already have some candidates?
Well, we just started searching in May.
Okay.
And we don't yet
it's
have
very
candidates.
recently.
We have many terabytes of data to sift through.
Oh, okay. Yes, more data that you have time to process.
Well, no, we're processing it all, but it's going to be another couple of months before we have a handle on what came out of the first search. And then we'll do another search next year as well.
Okay, so Alan, we found water under the ice crust of Pluto, like in, I don't know, Europe or Enceladus. But what I don't understand is how water is liquid, considering the very low temperatures in Pluto, that it's very far from the sun.
Yeah.
How
So
this is
because
possible?
Because Pluto's far from the sun, the surface temperature is very cold because the sun is very weak and feeble and it can't really heat it well. But as you proceed down in depth through the crust and into the planet more and more deeply, the depth of material above you creates a weight, which is a pressure. And through the perfect gas law from elementary physics, pressure and temperature are proportional to each other. So as you go deeper, the pressure gets higher. That means the temperature gets higher. And eventually you reach a depth where the water can't exist as an ice. It must liquefy. This is somewhere between several tens and perhaps 100 kilometers below the surface.
Okay.
And so down inside the planet, it's much warmer because of this phenomenon.
Because the pressure, okay. Because you don't have a Jupiter or a Saturn, a giant that heat the interior of the planet.
The overlying weight of material creates heat through its pressure.
You don't have tidal forces. This is what I mean.
Right. I understand.
Okay.
Right. Nonetheless, Pluto is active, and it almost certainly has a liquid water ocean in the interior.
And you think that it's possible some kind of life?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a biologist. But I do know that, number one, the case for the ocean is very strong. Number two, the ocean is old. We're also, there's a very good case that it's old. So there's been plenty of time for life to evolve. And there are places where the water has spilled out onto the surface through volcanic fissures. And we find in those water ice deposits organic molecules.
Maybe geysers?
We don't see geysers, although they may have been in the past. They weren't as we went by. But the fact that we see organics in the water is certainly a point in favor of making a case that there could be biology taking place down in that ocean.
And what
we'll
about,
have to go back to find out.
yeah. What about Charon? This is another wonderful and amazing world.
It is. This is Pluto's large satellite, and really they are a binary planet because Charon, as you say, it's half the size of Pluto. So they're really a pair. And Charon, being smaller, can't reach the same temperatures inside because it can't get to the same depth. And on top of it, its gravity is lower. And what we do know is that early in its history, billions of years ago, Charon was geologically active and had water lavas that flowed across its surface and froze. And the water ocean that was in its interior when it first formed, because it was hot, has since frozen and cracked the planet all the way around its equator. Pretty amazing. Really, it's the largest canyon system ever seen anywhere in the solar system.
And going back to Pluto, we found atmosphere in Pluto also.
That's right. And the atmosphere is made of the same stuff that you and I are breathing, nitrogen.
This was surprising.
It was not surprising to find an atmosphere because we had found it from the Earth. But what we found was that the atmosphere was very different in its detailed characteristics than we expected, that it had much more structured hazes, a much lower escape rate, a different temperature profile than we understood from the Earth. So we learned a lot about that atmosphere from New Horizons, but honestly, I would be lying to you if I said we discovered it. It was found from the Earth with ground-based telescopes in the late 1980s.
Okay. But these wonderful images where you see the sun and the atmosphere, it's really awesome.
It's really stunning, isn't it? To see Pluto's skies are truly blue. Yeah, it's my favorite image from the entire flight.
Oh, yes, me too. Perfect. So now New Horizons is still working, and you visited a strange Kuiper Belt object, a binary object, in fact. This red object. Why red? There is organic material there?
It's very common in the outer solar system to find red surfaces of small bodies like Arrokoth, the Kuiper Belt object that we flew past. And they typically are red because of the organic materials on their surface. Not biological organic, just organic molecules made of carbon and hydrogen.
Mm-hmm. You think that this binary object reminds us how the solar system born through an accretion process?
The study of Arrokoth with the data from New Horizons has really created a sea change in what we know about how the seeds of planets were born. There were two competing theories, and they make different predictions for what we should find. And what we did find only lines up with one, not the other. So after decades of debate and computer modeling, in one flyby, on one day, New Horizons settled the case.
Amazing. What is doing New Horizons now?
New Horizons is flying at a very high speed, as it always does, almost 1 million kilometers per day. It's collecting data. As we speak during this interview, it's collecting data on the environment way out there, more than 7 billion kilometers from Earth, in the Kuiper Belt, the radiation environment, the gas environment, the dust and impact environment, and just finished using its telescopes earlier this month to look at other Kuiper Belt objects that it's passing.
All the instruments are working?
Yes, all 7 are working perfectly. And so is the spacecraft.
Yeah, okay. So these objects that are so far from our sun, from Earth, are unaltered, so are very pristine.
Well, they're very cold because they're so far away. So this deep freeze keeps them pristine, as you say. That's right. So the best preserved relics of the formation era of our solar system.
New Horizons will abandon someday the solar system. Which is the difference between New Horizons and the Voyager's spaceships?
Well, the Voyagers are much farther out because they had a nearly 40-year, 30-year head start. They were launched in the 70s, and Horizons was launched in 2006.
Yes.
So they're much farther out. But New Horizons is much more sophisticated because it was built with modern technology, not 1970s technology. So the instrumentation on board is capable of making much more detailed scientific measurements in some ways. Also, New Horizons still has the capability to make flybys of other objects in its future. The Voyagers do not. They are finished.
Which is your next project?
You mean after New Horizons?
Yes, after New Horizons.
Well, I'm working on 3, as a matter of fact. I'm a team member on a mission called Lucy. It's going to a class of ancient asteroids called Jovian Trojans. I'm also on the team for the Europa Clipper mission, and I am working on a new commercial space project as well.
Okay. Well, thank you, Alan, for your time. Again, was an honor for us to having you. I know you are a very busy person, so thank you again to our audience in Argentina.
Thank you all for inviting me and for being interested in New Horizons. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, and congratulations for the mission because it was really amazing.
Thank you very much, Luis.
I show all your images and New Horizon movies and to the kids because I have a planetarium, a mobile planetarium. I travel around my province in Argentina and I share with the kids and children all these incredible and stunning images from New Horizons. So have you in the program, to me, it's really incredible.
Well, I'm very happy to do it and thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you.
En el marco de su plan energético a 10 años, ENERSA desarrolla obras de infraestructura en toda la provincia para acompañar el desarrollo productivo, permitir la radicación de nuevas inversiones y garantizar el bienestar de las familias en sus hogares. Más de 1.100 millones de pesos destinados a obras eléctricas para beneficio de todos los entrerrianos. Plan energético a 10 años. ENERSA, Gobierno de Entre Ríos.
Muy bien, entonces era Alan Stern, el investigador principal de la misión Nuevos Horizontes. Sobre el final, yo no lo sabía, me dijo que iba a ser responsable también, o al menos estaba involucrando en la misión Clipper, que esta es una nave que va a ir a Europa. Europa es una luna de Júpiter en donde hay serios indicios de evidencia de que puede llegar a tener un océano subterráneo y también con condiciones de habitabilidad. La misión Clipper puede llegar a salir en el año 2023 y demorar varios años, tal vez hasta el 2029 para llegar a Júpiter. Si saliera con un cohete más potente como el SLS, que no se sabe si va a estar realmente listo para esa fecha, lo podría hacer en menos tiempo, porque si no, de lo contrario, tiene que utilizar la gravedad asistida, digamos, para poder llegar utilizando otros cuerpos celestes. Así que, bueno, muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Les quiero comentar que el viernes 27 de agosto hay rumores por el momento de que podría llegar a ser lanzado el satélite argentino SAOCOM 1B. La CONAE y el INVAP todavía no han confirmado nada. Si esto llega a concretarse, vamos a hacer una transmisión en vivo. Para eso suscríbanse a nuestro canal en YouTube, Ecos de un Mundo Estrellado, habiliten las notificaciones. El lanzamiento es posible que se haga en horas de la noche, alrededor de las 20 horas. Algunos sitios especializados de Estados Unidos están dando a conocer esa fecha como una fecha posible. Insisto, acá todavía no han confirmado nada, es como que se abre una ventana de lanzamiento, pero no me sorprendería porque muchas veces 2 o 3 días antes, y eso uno lo ve permanentemente con los satélites que lanza SpaceX, se confirman los lanzamientos. Lo que sí ya sabemos es que el satélite está dentro de su cofia, lo probaron, hicieron una simulación, todo anda, todo funciona bien, así que es muy probable que en pocos días tengamos ese lanzamiento. Y muchas gracias a todas las personas en YouTube que vieron la nota que le hice a Raúl Kulicheski, el director de la CONAI, que realmente tuvo un récord de visualizaciones. Mucho interés, sobre todo en Argentina, sobre este tema, por supuesto. Muchas gracias. Hasta nuestro próximo programa.
That splashdown came right on time, 5:45 a.m. Pacific, 8:40